Hello and welcome back to my channel, and today we're revisiting Anthem in 2024 with an i9-99K 4070 Ti in 2K because, well, ever since this game came out it's been pretty much a little bit of an addiction, I would want to say. It's nothing special, but it looks good, and the fact itself you can fly around and just shoot things and then you go through the mastery levels and help others, because surprisingly enough the servers are still up, kind of has become a little bit of a dirty secret, I must say, for a lot of people, because there are quite a few people still playing this game, surprisingly. So let's talk about the requirements. The minimum CPU this game wants you to have is an Intel i5-3570, and the recommended CPU is an i7-4790. For the GPUs, the minimum GPU they want you to have is a GTX 760, and recommended one is either GTX 1060 or RTX 2060. So technically the requirements are pretty decent, but the game was unstable, long loading times between the areas, kind of like a really hot mess, and it was supposed to be the brand new thing. They did launch a couple updates. One of the updates even included DLSS to help things, but you know, essentially the game kind of got forgotten. So let's see what we have. We're gonna go with a 2K native, full screen, no vertical sync, without DLSS enabled. For graphically, we're going, well, with everything as per preset. Now, you might think that motion blur and depth of field is kinda not needed for this game, but honestly, you won't even notice it's on. For advanced, we're going with ultra preset all around, and field of view is slightly cranked for both ground and pilot and flight FOVs. So, what do we actually see? As you can see, well, it works, surprisingly enough. And we're pulling 6.5 gigs of video memory, 17, almost 18 gigs of RAM, and we're above 60 frames. Now, granted, this is pretty much what the game should have been and ran when it was launched, but even with an i5-96K going for either Full HD or 2K or 4K as we tested, the frame rate performance was not exactly where we want it to be. So let's venture outside and see how it all looks for us here. Pretty decent, but this market area usually do drop some of your frames there, specifically when you look somehow up, it kind of goes down a bit, which is weird. 73 now, slightly up 97, I guess there's just nothing to render there. Outside of that, I mean, this is just a very regular game, nothing really special, a little bit of a grind here and there, progression system is kind of meh, but customization, I guess, is what people really like. They could make an Iron Man suit. So let's go for a little fly around and see, because honestly I was kind of dreaming for a day when I can play this game with no stutters. You know, it's I'm a simple person, but it is how it is. So let's just go for a free roam and see where we end up and just get a feel for things, really. So that should be kind of fun. Obviously the rumors about Anthem 2 has not come through. There's probably not going to be an Anthem 2 anytime soon, unless someone wakes up and decides that, hey, let's revisit this title and make it right this time. And yeah, honestly, quite a few people, even with very decent builds on launch, were not impressed by the game's performance. Surprisingly enough, though, the game actually runs absolutely fine on the consoles. So go figure, maybe it was just a bad PC port, or maybe they just didn't have time or resources to actually make it work. But nevertheless, like, it's still fun to play. Not exactly something you would spend, you know, 70-80 hours every day ever since it launched, but still, you know, I think it's kind of worth your time at least once in your life. You should be playing Anthem and you should know what it is, I think. I'm not saying. And here we go. There's already a player here. Like, look at this. This is not an NPC, and he's rocking that Storm Javelin. Fantastic. Right. So what do we see? We're pulling 6.7 gigs of video memory, allocated 19 gigs of RAM. So obviously this game is RAM hungry. Let's go for a little walk here and let's just see how it all works out for us. Gonna have it a little fly around, and honestly the flying part is, I guess, my favorite one, because it just works. I don't know how they managed to just cripple the game that has a very simple flight mechanics, very simple combat and grind, and they still couldn't actually make it work properly for us. At the same time, graphically, I must say, this is probably one of the best looking games that EA has produced, and you know, it's not like they're making a lot of cool looking games nowadays, but Anthem was a very ambitious project. And even now you can see that all the cores and threads are being used, so we're not stuck with only 1 or 2 core being maxed out and everything is just not doing anything. But overall, like, all of this is just... This is what I think people are mostly doing when they play Anthem. They just fly around, really. The combat is very, I would want to say, a little bit boring. Once you max out your javelin, either you go and unlock the next one and you repeat the grind, or anything else in between, because there's nothing really else to do when it comes to it. Even though the game itself, technically the world is relatively big, it's also kind of empty. The same missions, so to say, you know, the same objectives. Go find this guy, go save this guy, go hold this point, which, you know, all in all might have worked, but you still need to kind of make it a bit more interesting than this. Like, just a little tiny bit more interesting. And not being interesting, I guess, is what really killed this game, but still. Moments like these, jumping into the water, flying out of the water and stuff like this is always... It just looks good though. As I said, graphically this game, I have no complaints about graphical fidelity here.
It's Razor's Edge run. Whenever you're ready.
And yeah, performance-wise, we are above 60 frames. Everything's looking good. GPU is actually not doing much, so can't really say that's surprising, but still. Some locations around here. Yeah, I guess you can finally play this game if you really want to. A little bit too late. A little bit too late. Because, honestly, I wouldn't want to say that a lot of people would particularly, you know, spend out a lot of money just to get this game run properly and build themselves a monstrous rig. But, you know, who am I to judge? Yeah, I mean, very simple game, very simple, very bare bones, I would even want to say. The storyline of the campaign is kind of meh. I've replayed this game about 2 times so far, and yeah, I think you would be slightly better off playing Minecraft or something, because outside of that, it's not gonna be worth it.
It needs to be stabilized.
Of course, now there's relics. We're not gonna go for the relics.
The relic's destabilized. Be careful. Quickly, collect some echoes to silence that relic. Those nodes. Get rid of them or stay out of their way.
Good old Anthem. That's all I can say. all these weird creatures always attacking whatever the storyline behind them is. The game world is kinda empty, just overall. It's I would wanna say good 3 types of enemies at best, like 2 factions, couple monsters, some titans and colossuses, and that's about it, which oh well. It is how it is. And we're not silencing the Shaper of the Relic, that's for sure. Once you finish the game, all this just becomes a little bit tedious. You do the same thing over and over and over again, so I don't think people will be doing it. But hey, still, flying around, kind of fun.
Scars incoming. It's an ambush.
So yeah, does the game run well in 2024? Yes, now it does. Should you kinda care, should I say? Probably not. So unless you owe this game, there's probably very little for you to actually do within it, so. But hey, who am I to tell you what to do with your life? If you like this game, play it. If you don't like this game, I guess don't play it then. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Anthem works, and who knows, maybe we'll meet up here.
Multiple Dominion tracking signatures in the area, all looking for you.
So yeah, see you later. Over now.
Dominion's been busy. Multiple heavy. Clear out the threat before we do anything else. You did it. They're in full retreat. I'll send word of our success.